Welcome back to the Matchbook Weekend Football Podcast. Interesting weekend last weekend. I'm joined, as ever, by Mr. Adrian Clarke, ex-professional footballer and current broadcaster and founder and chairman and CEO and president of We Love Betting, Mr. Mark O'Hare. Mark, come to you first of all, mate. We finally got Leicester right. You called it well, as did Adrian, at 1.99 on Liverpool. We may never get it again at home in the Premier League for sure. Went off close to 1.8, but very satisfying, Mark, to be on the right side of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we said sort of in the week it was a slight gamble without knowing the actual team news, etc. But I think Liverpool's team was actually slightly weaker than I actually originally expected it to be. But no complaints about the result or the performance because they were absolutely outstanding, and Leicester didn't really seem to have an answer to them. So it was a comfortable victory. Could have been a lot more comfortable even so. But quite satisfying to see it after many weeks of opposing Leicester. We finally got them beat.
Absolutely. No, it was, you boys were absolutely dead on the mark with that one. Adrian Clarke, you had 3 selections over on insights.matchbook.com. You had 2 EFL picks here. You got 4 out of 5 again, 3 out of 3 on Insights. Terrific weekend of EFL tipping as ever, sir.
Yeah, I was chuffed to bits with that. Yeah, no, it turned out nicely. Not so nice for Plymouth, who had to put up with that long journey home from Fleetwood. But yeah, it was sweet for those of us that back Joey's boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Very comfortable win there for Fleetwood Town last weekend. Right, coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the marquee fixture in the Premier League this weekend. Chelsea versus Tottenham, Arsenal against Wolves, Southampton against Manchester United, Everton against Leeds. As ever, my favourite part of the show, EFL and European bets and weekend best bets thereafter. Right, gentlemen, let's jump right into it. Super Sunday at Stamford Bridge. We are looking at Chelsea against Tottenham. Now, Mark, I know pre-recording here that you're kind of struggling a bit with this, but let's have a look at the betting and let's talk about it thereafter. Chelsea currently at 2.13, Tottenham Hotspur 3.82. The draws available there are 3.6. Tottenham getting a half a goal start on the Asian handicap. Remember, we backed this selection last weekend and it was a profitable one against Manchester City. Over 2.75 is the main goal line, slightly favouring the under. And Mark, I think you wanted to be with unders here. It mightn't be the ideal number here, but you expect a kind of a tight affair at the bridge.
Yeah, I think so. I just think after everything we talked about with Jose Mourinho last weekend and Spurs' approach against Manchester City, I think it would be strange on his path to move away from that formula against the Chelsea team, who have so many attacking threats. Looking at Chelsea, they've had a good week, comfortable win over Newcastle, and then the win against Rennes in midweek in Champions League, where they started really strongly, looked like they could blow Rennes away, and then just kind of dropped off a bit. We're actually quite fortunate towards the end to actually hold on and then get the win as well. But we saw the strength in depth that they have, that they could start a game with Kante and Ziyech and Havertz and Rudiger on the bench, serious quality. But credit to Frank Lampard, we are starting to see small improvements in both boxes. I think defensively, Thiago Silva's calming influence, Mendy between the sticks as well, has certainly aided that. There's much more assurance and leadership and authority in the defensive stakes from Chelsea, and conversion rates have improved despite Timo Werner missing a couple of sitters in midweek. And their results in sort of the Premier League and Champions League since October, 7 wins, 3 draws, 0 defeats, 7 clean sheets. So they are coming along nicely. I can see why people might want to be with Chelsea this weekend, but I think from my side of things, price-wise, they're probably just about where I expected them to be, probably where I had them as well, maybe slightly shorter. But Lampard has had the upper hand over Jose Mourinho in, admittedly only 3 games, but did the double over Spurs last season. And also, when he was in charge of Derby, ousted Man United from the Cup as well. So this will be a tougher test. We know Spurs are in a great vein of form, unbeaten in the Premier League since the opening weekend, a perfect away record as well. Pretty much a full squad available, bar Alderweireld, which is a big blow defensively. And they also have to play on Thursday night in the Europa League. But I suspect he'll make a number of changes for that with this game in mind. So there is an argument that Spurs could be further clear at the top of the table, take the 2 games against Newcastle and West Ham, where they blew it. Going back to your original point, I think it will probably be a rinse and repeat formula from Spurs here. The performance without the ball against City was really, really good. They have the players to hurt teams in transitions and on the counter-attack. They do have a rotten record at Chelsea. I think it's 1 win in 34 away at the Bridge. But I'm not hugely kind of in love with those kind of stats, particularly if there's behind closed doors, etc. So yeah, I have found this game really tricky to call. I think if I'm just having an interest, I'd probably have a little punt on the draw. That's 3.6, which I think is fair enough. I can find reasons to be with both teams. But yeah, you mentioned the goal line. I wanted 3. I wanted it to be taken under 3 approach, knowing that we've got a bit more safety on our side. There would be a slight lean there towards under 2 3/4. Again, just piggybacking on Spurs' approach under Mourinho. One of the 9 games he's overseen against top 6 teams with Tottenham have featured fewer than 4 goals. 5 of those went under 2.5 goals as well. So yeah, that would be my slight lean on the game, but I wouldn't be adverse to anyone putting a little interest on the draw.
Yeah, absolutely. The draw currently available at 3.6, not a bad price. And Adrian Clarke, I touched on there in the top. Obviously, we backed them at plus half a goal Tottenham last weekend, and they were very comfortable for that. One of the better shows. But I just wanted to kind of get an overall, your overall thoughts on this. Craig Burley, speaking to ESPN.com during the week, said Chelsea are a much more talented team than Tottenham. I think Chelsea are a much more talented team. They have Tottenham have a good squad, but Chelsea have an unbelievable amount of attacking players. And I don't know, is there that much of a gap there? I think Tottenham can, pretty much mix it with anyone right now. And Jose Mourinho, his style has definitely been vindicated in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, I think we probably all owe Jose a little bit of an apology. Many of us thought he was washed up as a winning coach in the Premier League, but he's having a terrific season. No, I wouldn't say there's a huge gap. I think that Chelsea have got more choice in forward areas for sure. Probably more choice all over the pitch. So in terms of depth, yes. But starting 11's not that much to choose. I don't think that Chelsea right now necessarily know their best 11. Where do you play Werner? Do you play him down the middle? Do you have him on the left with either Tammy or Olivier Giroud up front? Ziyech has to play. I mean, I was really impressed by Spurs' organisation, their compactness in the game against City. It was outstanding. Reguilon at fullback was excellent. Both fullbacks were excellent. But I think that Chelsea are better when they come up against... I think this season they're better against teams that have a lower block than they were last year because of Ziyech. Ziyech has got unbelievable quality. So if you sit... Last season, when teams sat against Chelsea, they really ran out of ideas. They were quite slow-paced. This season, as we saw at Newcastle, actually, last weekend, they've got a player now. And with Chilwell as well, he delivers good quality as well. A couple of new players that really, when teams sit deep, they can whip real brilliant crosses into the box for Chelsea to score. And I think that's a danger for Spurs, particularly with Alderweireld. Mark touched on it there, out for 2 to 4 weeks. I think that's a problem. That's why I'd lean marginally towards Chelsea. I too am interested in backing the draw. I can see it being a draw quite comfortably, but I would edge towards Chelsea. 2 extra days rest, even though a lot of the players might not play tonight in the Europa League. And Chelsea have proven they can handle these cagier games. At Manchester United, they sat in and played a different type of game. And I thought, even though it wasn't a great game, they held their own well. And in terms of the XGA, the goals against expected, Chelsea have the lowest in the division. So they're not easy to break down. I could make a case for both teams. Spurs on transition, Chelsea, creating chances against the low block. So the draw is probably the safest place to go, but I am edging a little bit towards Chelsea here.
Yeah, I think the draw could be definitely like a half unit play at that price. Like I said, it's a pretty big price at 3.6. But Mark, just to come back to your original goal line when you're talking about the 3, if in a hypothetical terms that this goal line does creep up and you get under 3, it's currently 1.69 a match. But what kind of price would you be comfortable backing at if the goal line did jump up a bit?
Yeah, 175 would be my benchmark for under 3. I'd be pretty happy with that. But below 1.7, it's a no bet.
Absolutely. Look, we've 3 days out from kickoff. We're recording this on Thursday morning. Markets do move. So if you're listening or watching this later on the weekend, take a look at Matchbook's prices thereafter, and that will tell you where Mark is going. I think.
One other thing tactically I forgot to mention is teams haven't yet worked out what to do with Harry Kane, have they? I mean, City made an absolute hash of it, didn't they? Goodness me. Getting the centre-half dragged out, leaving the space for Son to run in behind. I think we've all seen it so often now that surely Chelsea will come up with a plan here, and in the shape of N'Golo Conte and Jorginho to a slightly lesser degree, they have two sitting players there that can close that space. So we might see Spurs have to come up with something different in this game. I don't think Chelsea will fall for it in the way that other teams have.
Yeah, okay. Good points there. I think maybe just like a half a unit play, and just on these Premier League fixtures, some of these can be very tricky. And I know personally from my betting that I'd be kind of more likely to listen to Adrian's EFL stuff and Mark's European stuff, because I think the markets in Premier League, as we know, are exceptionally efficient, and it's pretty hard to get it. But look, slightly in on the draw there, 3.6. We'll just lock it in for a half a unit play. Right, let's move on. Arsenal versus Wolves is next on the agenda. Adrian, I'll come to you first, but I just want to take a quick look at the betting. Arsenal at 2.14, Wolves at 3.94. The draw is available at 3.36. You can back Wolves at a half goal start. On the Asian handicap, just under 1.83, and the total is a low enough one as ever in a Wolves game at 2.25. But I come to Wolves there, but Arsenal ain't exactly shooting the light. So both teams have scored 9 goals in the Premier League. This is very low for Arsenal, obviously. Historically, Adrian, both conceded 10. And Arsenal have a whole lot of injury concerns this week, and Pepe is suspended. So, what do you think? And what are you hearing from the?
They're not in top 4. That's for sure. Arsenal at the moment. That's an understatement. They have the second lowest average goals. Both teams, 2.11 goals per game this season for Arsenal and Wolves, which is the second lowest. So I understand why the line is so low. It feels quite short though. I'm not quite sure. The last 2 games Wolves have had at Emirates have been 1 apiece, and if you're looking at this game, you're probably thinking it'll probably end 1 apiece again. That's the sort of game you're anticipating. Look, Arsenal, Pepe suspended. What a silly boy he was last weekend. Saka, I think, might be okay. It's just a dead leg. It wasn't a major injury. Yeah. Willian, we haven't heard yet what's going on with him. It was interesting last weekend, going with Aubameyang up top, Joe Willock in behind. It was just a shame, I think, that it only lasted for 50 minutes before they had to, change the game plan and basically put everybody behind the ball. What did encourage me from Arsenal in the game was the way they defended resiliently. I mean, real pressure from Leeds. I mean, they had over 20 shots, didn't they? And Arsenal were better on the counter attack than they have been. So that those are 2 sort of green shoots of recovery, but they're not in top form at the moment. Much might depend on Thomas Partey. I think he's a key man. I really do. Not the same team without him. So watch out for team news. If he plays, Arsenal have got a better chance. If he's missing, it will certainly encourage Wolves, who haven't excited anyone this season, have they? I mean, Wolves. What was interesting about Wolves last weekend was no Connor Cody, no back 3. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was for the first time, I think, ever under Nuno. Certainly from what I've seen, he went with a back 4, and they were shaky. So look, if Cody's back, I'm sure they'll go to a back 3, and it'll be normal service resumed. But it's something to consider. They didn't look as comfy in a back 4. What they did do in the game against Southampton was create more chances. I think they had 20 shots. Traore was back in the team, which I think will please a lot of Wolves fans. Podence played, but Neto came on and shone. So I think Neto might start here with Traore and Raul Jimenez. It's another tricky one, but I can't back Arsenal. I really can't. It hurts me to say that, but I can't back Arsenal at the price. Hand on heart, if I'm being totally objective here, Wolves on the handicap with a quarter goal start on the Asian handicap. That would be where I think the best value lies here. They've got a great chance of picking up a draw or even nicking a win. Arsenal haven't enjoyed these Sunday night kickoffs. They've been spanked by Leicester and Villa in this particular slot, and this won't be an easier game for them either.
Yeah, so that'd be the half a goal start in the Asian handicap, which obviously, if it's a draw, you get paid 1.83. Mark, what do you think with this one? Adrian, very much head over heart with this one, not fancying an Arsenal victory. Where are you like?
Yeah, very, very much a similar approach, and he's covered a lot of the points I would have made as well. So not a huge amount to add. I did think on the balance of play last week, Arsenal were fortunate to come out with a share of the spoils. Had the woodwork hit 3 times, and as Adrian said, lost the shot count 25-9. They've only scored 1 goal in the last 5 Premier League games now, which is really concerning. And
that was a penalty mark.
Yeah, exactly. It's really quite alarming. And I think whilst they're looking more improved, let's say, on the counter attack. It's the pace of their speed of transition and their possession. It's quite ponderous. Not seeing much penetration in that team, and I think their shots per game figure at 9.1 is the lowest since Opta started recording in the 90s, which is really concerning. Only 4 clubs are averaging fewer shots.
That's like George Graham Arsenal. That's what
hang on, nothing wrong with George Graham's Arsenal.
No, 1-0 to the Gunners. 1-0 to the Gunners. Yeah, love it. Good times, Adrian. Good times, man.
We prided ourselves on that. Not that I played much in the first team under George, but yeah, the priority there was definitely having a clean sheet mentality. I just think with Arteta, it's getting the balance right. He just hasn't quite got the balance right. The defensively they're better, no doubt about it. But yes, it's not clicking up top. But I would like to see a repeat of Aubameyang up front. It makes sense to me to persist with that. But they've got to give him more ammunition, haven't they, to score goals? What happened in that game though against Leeds, despite being up against it? They had a great chance 1v1 with Saka to win it. Strong penalty appeal turned down, and Aubameyang had 3 shots inside the box, which is a big upgrade for him on previous outings. So look, I think he might cause Wolves problems in the game, but this isn't going to be one-way traffic. It's going to be tight.
Mark,
sorry,
go for it.
No, I was just going to say on Wolves, they're a really curious team. Nuno's had to do a bit of rebuilding over the summer, and there was a lot of talk about sort of this transition towards a more possession-friendly style, more attack-friendly style, but that hasn't really materialised. I know we saw glimpses of something similar to that against Southampton, but they're still a team that look most comfortable when they're soaking up pressure and playing on the counter-attack. They're still a team that looks most comfortable in that sort of strong back five, the foundation with a few decisive players up in the final third to make a difference when it matters. And I do expect Conor Cody to come back into this team. I do expect Wolves to be very competitive and very difficult to beat here. And you look at Arsenal and what we've seen so far on the evidence, I think Palace and Fulham, for example, are having more shots from inside the penalty area this season than Arsenal. And that's really, really worrying. It kind of obviously, for me, really, it's why the unders is so heavily backed here. You've already sort of mentioned the statistics there, Sully, as well, so I won't label them. But in terms of Wolves, their road record when going to the Big Six, it's promotion. It's remarkable. They've avoided defeat in 8 of 12 trips. 3 of those defeats that they have suffered came against Man City and Liverpool. So I do fancy them to get something here, and I sort of back up what Adrian said there about Wolves. Plus a half goal on the Asian handicap, I think around 1.85-ish, 1.83 now.
1.83,
but yeah, I think that's absolutely fair enough, considering what we know right now. This isn't the Arsenal of old. So Wolves, despite not being where we probably expect them to be over the past couple of seasons, I still think they're more than capable of getting a point there.
I thought that stat there regards the top 6 clubs is quite interesting. You find with many teams that play down to the opposition, but Wolves obviously play up to the bigger boys, which is a strong positive for them in this one. And look, call it what it is. Arsenal's still a top 6 club, no matter what way you look at it, even at the moment with their league position. Adrian, do you have anything else there, mate? Or?
No. Look, I'm desperately hoping for a turning point performance. I really am from Arsenal. And look, once things do click, there's no doubt they've got the talent. And I do believe in Mikel Arteta to get things right going forward. But right now, it's a little bit too stodgy inside the final third. So yeah, this could be quite a difficult watch. Actually, I don't expect it to be necessarily pretty.
Which will be fine when we're on Wolves plus half a goal. We'll be quite happy with a 0-0 draw. Okay, guys, let's move on. Let's look at our next fixture. We're going to talk about Southampton against Manchester United. Right, current betting at the time of recording at Matchbook. You can back Southampton at 3.98. Manchester United 2.04. The draw 3.64. Southampton getting a half goal start in the Asian handicap at 1.92. And the total is 2.5 and very much shaded towards the over there at 1.84. And Mark, I'll come to you first in this one. I mean, look, Manchester United, obviously, we know they have a terrific away record in the Premier League. I think it's one of their last 10 games. I don't know. This market isn't, I don't know, is it giving enough respect to Southampton right now? They're 5th in the table. I know they're coming off that 1-1 draw in Molineux, but what way are you looking at it this so far, Mark?
Yeah, I'd agree. I thought the price and the line really interested me, actually. I did a bit of digging. Southampton have only been this price or larger 4 times at home since Christmas 2018, and 3 of those are against Liverpool and Man City. So it's giving Man United a hell of a lot of respect. And I'm still not sure that they're the well-oiled machine that the market seems to suggest they are. Yes, the away results have been very impressive, but just look at what they've done over the past week. Johnson had a great game for West Brom, but West Brom had their moments at Old Trafford, and a couple of decisions went against them. Against Başakşehir, the result looks fantastic, but you look at the actual first half and look at the goals in particular. You got a Fernando stunner, a penalty, and a massive goalkeeping error as well. And actually, Başakşehir carved out a few opportunities and gave them a decent game if you look at the balance of the play. So, away results have been really impressive, and I think that's probably an angle where I probably don't give them enough respect. I think you might have exaggerated the figures a little bit, Sully, but they're still very, very strong. I think they're away unbeaten in the Premier League since January, at least, when they went to Liverpool. But yeah, there still seems something a little bit dysfunctional about them under Solskjaer. They're still erratic, and they're still really difficult to second guess which United are we going to get. And actually, their record since the start of last season, when they've been even money away from home, it's just 2 wins from 5. One of those was against Everton recently, where Everton were missing Richarlison and a few other players, key players for Everton at least. United were good that day, in fairness, but the other one was against Leicester at the end of the last season, which they won. Leicester were in a real funk at the time, and United took advantage. So, yeah, they've had their issues with Southampton in recent seasons, particularly under Ralph Hasenhüttl. And Southampton are interesting because traditionally they've been so strong away from St Mary's. They've actually started to reverse that trend since lockdown. Unbeaten in 7 at home, winning 5 of those, including the last 3. Danny Ings' injury is a blow, but Theo Walcott seems to be thriving now in the central striker role in his place. He's fit and available, which is great for Southampton. And they seem to have settled down from those defensive nightmares at the start of the season. They've sort of readjusted things, and it's 4 clean sheets in 7. So, yeah, it's purely a price-led thing for me, but I think Southampton plus half a goal at 1.92-ish. Absolutely fair enough. I just think United are being slightly overrated despite that away record.
Adrian, you look at Southampton, and Mark touched on it there regards St Mary's, and they're playing such a high-octane brand of football and with a very high defensive line as well. And I looked at that goal line first, and I know it's tilted towards the over 2.5. I was thinking to myself, I don't know, that could be definitely one to be playing the over on both. But Mark's going for the Saints at plus half a goal. Are you in agreement with him?
Well, I find this a difficult match to call. I really do. You're right to point out about the high line. I mean, Spurs destroyed them earlier on in the season with that, didn't they? But they seem to have learned their lesson. 3 consecutive 2-0 wins at home, where they're dominant and they've barely conceded a chance in those games. They've been really, really solid. But they have conceded goals against the better teams in the division, or the form teams. Talked about Spurs 5, Chelsea they leaked 3, Villa they leaked 3. I'm still not sure about the centre halves, Bednarek and Vestergaard. I think the keeper is playing very, very well. So I'm not sold on Southampton being the finished article. And if they revert to type with that real pressing style, pushing up to the halfway line, you can see Rashford and Martial and co enjoying a little bit of joy, maybe in behind. So watch out for that. But it's a tough game to call, because you look at the stats, you look at United's record away from home, and you think, well, yeah, you can see why they're so short. But then you use your eyes and you think, well, they're not that good. It is tricky. I don't think they've found the right formula so far up front. Obviously, got a lot of players. You've got Cavani, Martial, Rashford, etc. But what is the best unit? I still don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows. What I do know is that Bruno Fernandes is back on song, and he could be a difference maker in the game. So yeah, look, I can get on board with Southampton on the handicap, because I don't think there'll be much in it. The draw would probably be my pick, but yeah, I don't see Southampton winning this game. I don't. I think United will get something. Whether I doubt it'll be another handsome win.
Yeah, look, I think I like the angle. It's probably more of a kind of a numbers play here, Mark, in the sense that we just think United are they're a bit too short here at 2.04, and I think that's obviously reflective then in the Asian handicap getting 1.92 on Southampton plus half a goal. So yeah, I think let's pencil that one in, gentlemen, and let's move on to Saturday evening's game at Goodison Park. Everton take on Leeds United. Current prices at the time of recording here at Matchbook. Everton, just shades of odds against her, 2.03. Leeds United, 3.8. The draw is a 3.86. Leeds are getting a half a goal start. A lot of half a goal starts here on the Asian handicaps today, 1.93. And the total is 3. Adrian, talk to me, mate. Good game. And I was looking at the stat. There's been 66 goals so far between both of these sides, involved in their games. So it's like that total, it's obviously 3 for a reason. But what are you making with this one? Because like Leeds have just kind of, I think they maybe just have plateaued out a bit. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, it's difficult. I thought Leeds, I actually liked what they did tactically. I thought that they were less gung-ho against Arsenal. They didn't take as many risks, yet they still manufactured an awful lot of chances. I thought their movement was outstanding, particularly with the wide men, Harrison and Rafinha coming in off the sides. So they caused Arsenal a lot of problems. So I think tactically Bielsa used the international break to have a little bit of a regroup. And I was actually, really, really impressed with Leeds United, who looked more solid at the back as well. Clarke and Cooper were better than they have been of late. I say it's going to be a good game because Everton just can't stop conceding goals. I mean, they're a very good team, much improved under Ancelotti, but it's 13 in their last 6, conceded 9 in 4 home games. I don't think they've conceded less than 2 in a home game yet, Everton. So that is a concern. The needing 3 or 4 goals to win matches, particularly at Goodison Park. In terms of the XG, they're both really high. I think 4th and 5th. In terms of XGA, expected goals against, I think they're 4th and 6th respectively. So you have to look at the overs. But for me, for the reasons outlined, even though Richarlison's back, which is a boost for Everton, I like Leeds. I think Leeds can score, a couple of goals at least here. Bamford had 4 good chances the other day. I know he hit the post with one, missed a couple of really good chances. Leno pulled off a couple of worldies. So yeah, I just don't like the Everton rearguard, and they switched, didn't they, last time out at Fulham to a back 3, and they were even worse. Yerry Mina for me is too slow, and I think that they will certainly look to target him. We know that Leeds will fire runners in from deep. So yeah, in my view, Leeds' high energy style can cause this Everton back 3 or back 4 a lot of problems in this game. I think it's going to be an entertaining one, and I'd back Leeds to shade it or to at least get a point. So again, it's another Asian handicap play for me. Plus 0.5 for Leeds on the handicap. That's where I'd go on it. Plus the overs.
A bit of a theme here this morning with plus half a goal for you, Adrian. Mark, what do you think of with this one? Overs obviously as well. It seems to be kind of, it points that way, it screams that way, but is it that way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've probably sat on the fence a few times so far on the show today, but this one I feel quite bullish about. I think this is going to be the best game in the Premier League this weekend. And yeah, I'm fully expecting goals. So whilst the market hasn't completely matured yet on Matchbook, I know that we can get over 2 3/4 goals at around 1.8, which if you post up on Matchbook, you will get, considering that's the line elsewhere. So, we opposed goals, I think, quite rightly in Leeds Arsenal last weekend. Leeds did their utmost to break that record, but they were very, very good going forward. But yeah, I think this is going to be end-to-end, great entertainment. Interestingly for Leeds, in their last 4 Premier League games, in the first 4 Premier League games, they averaged just 11.3 shots. Scored 9 goals though, and converting 20%. In the last 5, they've had 17 shots, scored just 5 goals and converted 6%. So nice regression to the mean there, but there's probably a bit of balance to be found somewhere between the two. But one thing obviously which is really encouraging is they're getting into shooting opportunities and they're getting their shots away. So I think they're going to have some joy. Adrian talked about the Everton defence. I think they've conceded 2 goals in the last 8 Premier League games since that opening day win against Spurs. And you look at the teams that they've conceded 2 or more goals against: West Brom, Palace, Brighton, Newcastle, Fulham. I mean, hardly great shakes, are they? So, Pickford's form has been very questionable again. I think the structure and the system that Ancelotti employs puts a huge amount of emphasis on Allen to get across the park. I think he's been exposed a few times because Doucouré is kind of caught between defence and attack. And but at the same point, you switch it around and they've looked so much more threatening when Richarlison's playing alongside Calvert-Lewin. And James in the team too, so they've got plenty of threats. And just looking at the raw stats, Everton have only failed to score once. BTTS has landed in 7 of 9. Over's landing in 7 of 9. And you look at their stats under Ancelotti as well. He's had 29 Premier League games in charge. Everton have scored in 24 of those, but kept just 6 clean sheets. It's a 66% hit rate for BTTS, 59% for Overs, and at Goodison, 11 of 14 have featured both teams scoring as well. So, yeah, as you sort of alluded to as well, the top 4. These two feature in the top 4 for total expected goals per game, total XG from open play, and Leeds matches feature the highest amount of shots from inside the penalty area as well. So, yeah, I'm quite confident that this is going to be a really good game. So, yeah, I'll be backing Overs on the over 2 3/4 line around 1.8.
Okay, let's put that as our official play, Adrian. I know you kind of leaned Leeds as well, but I think there's probably more of an angle there with the goals, and let's put that one in. And if it looks like goals and talks like goals and smells like goals, sometimes it just is goals. Let's do a quick recap, gentlemen, of the 4 games we've covered and what we've put in as our bets. Now, the Chelsea-Tottenham game, we're going to put in the draw, but we're going to put in a small player, maybe the half a unit play at 3.64. Wolves plus a half a goal on the Asian handicap at 1.83. Southampton plus a half a goal at 1.93, and Leeds over 2.75. And as Mark said, 1.8 will be very much there. I think it's about 1.73, but there's a bit of margin in that market, and closer to kickoff, it will very much be 1.8 here at Matchbook. Okay, 4 solid looks. And let's move on to my favorite part every week, EFL and Europe. Adrian Clarke, EFL King himself, kick us off, man. Where are we going this week?
Well, there were not many games, so there's a couple that I've picked out in the Championship. It's FA Cup weekend, you see. So in League One and League Two, very depleted fixture list. So yeah, not too many matches to choose from across the EFL. I picked out 2 in my insights column, so go and check that out. I think that's going to be released a little bit later.
That will be Thursday lunchtime. So insights.matchbook.com. Adrian Clarke is tipping winners all over the place.
Well, get it up quick, because one of the games is a Friday nighter. Brentford against QPR.
I'll have to get more staff, Adrian. You're putting me on the pressure.
Yeah, I probably know where that one's going, Adrian. Anyway,
I should have filed it earlier. No, I'm going for goals in that one, Mark. It's a game it's a derby that features a lot of goals. Talking of derbies, that's where my today's selection is Derby County. Awful. They've got 4 managers. They've got 4 managers at the moment.
Tell us how you really feel, Adrian. Tell us how you really feel about them.
Yeah, I mean, Rooney's the manager on the pitch. Liam Rosenior and Wayne Rooney are both desperate for this gig, but together they're making a hash of it. Beaten 3-0 at Middlesbrough, lost at Bristol City at the weekend. You've also got a couple of coaches on the sideline, Shay Given, with the iPads and everything. Everyone wants their say. No one knows who's in charge. It's honestly, they're a shambles. Big game for them. They've got Wickham at home. Now, Wickham have turned it around. They've only lost 1 of their last 6, and a couple of goalless draws at home of late, but they've found their feet in the division. And I know that Gareth Ainsworth will smell blood here, and he knows this is a huge game, and he'll get his team bang up for it and to rattle some cages, for want of a better phrase, because the Derby high rollers are on edge, and I don't think there's much direction at the moment. It's a club in limbo, basically. Need the new ownership to come in. They need a manager to be appointed. I looked at the prices, and it's quite appealing. Again, it's another Asian handicap play, this time Wickham plus 0.5, at Derby 2.1, or if you want to play it safer, Wickham draw or no bet is 3.2. I think they can get something there. I think they can win there, at worst get a draw. Derby are a bit toothless, and I think when Wickham start booming balls into the box for Akinfenwa and co, looking for the knockdowns, they can get some success there. So look, you never know. Derby have got talent; they could turn it around, but ahead of kickoff, they are a shambles, and I think they're going to struggle in this game.
I love how you painted that picture of all these guys wanting to be the manager, but not really knowing how to be the manager. And it just reminds me of a load of kids saying, "Oh, I want to be the captain. I want to be the captain. Give me the armband," and not really kind of knowing what.
Well, that's how it is. They're both. Rosenior keeps talking himself up as the manager, and look, he's a really respected coach, brilliant pundit. Knows his football, but Rooney is, the best player we've produced in the last 20 years. He's got a claim for it as well. They're both desperate for it, and I get the feeling neither's going to get it because results are a mess. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a good image. Let's put in Wickham plus a half a goal there, because I think you can still get that at odds against. I think it's about 2.15 at Matchbook. Anything else from elsewhere, Adrian, with the EFL?
No, I'm gonna go for a best bet from the EFL as well. So I'll keep my powder dry.
Sounds good. Mark, are you looking to the continent this weekend, mate?
Yeah. Germany and Italy. I think Sunday and Monday, these games. Sunday for Leverkusen against Hertha Berlin. Leverkusen starting to purr after they lost Kai Havertz and Kevin Volland in the summer. Big blows for Peter Bosch's team, but they're starting to find their groove. They've churned out 5 successive wins, scoring 14 goals, within touching distance now of the top of the Bundesliga. Still unbeaten as well, quite impressively too. So Bosch is very much a forward-thinking coach in terms of philosophy. I think that was epitomised before the international break, where they came from behind to win a thriller 4-3 home to Gladbach. And under his charge, they've scored at least 2 goals, or averaging, I should say, 2 goals at home domestically. In those 20 games at the Bayer Arena, there's been an average of 3.35 goals. And I'm expecting something similar against Hertha Berlin, who have huge expectations after a very rich owner came into the club 12 months ago. They've not been able to spend the money as they would have liked, but they've got a smart coach there in Bruno Labbadia, and plenty of great forward-thinking players as well. They've had a really tough schedule, Hertha. They've already had to play Dortmund, Bayern and Leipzig. They've struggled defensively this season, but in those 3 games, they've scored goals. BTDS and overs has clicked in all of them, as have 5 of their 8 in the Bundesliga this season. And their games this season averaging over 4 goals per game. Under Labbadia, 12 of 17 have gone over 2.5. 7 have crept over 3.5. They've scored in 15 of 17. And even before him, you look at their away record since the start of last season, 17 of 21 away days, over 2.5. They've scored in 17 of those, just kept 4 clean sheets as well. So I think they can play their part in a really fun game from Germany. So over 2 3/4 goals would be the play there in Germany. And then over in Italy, Torino-Sampdoria on Monday. Quite a big game, actually, for Torino, considering their struggles. Again, looking to play goals. I'm not sure why the market's not expecting goals. The line's at 2.5 here. We can get overs at 1.75. It's collected already in 12 of their combined 16 Serie A games this season. BTDS has landed in 11 of those as well. They've only managed 2 clean sheets between them. Those matches averaging 3.69 goals. Since the start of last season, look at their home and away records, both hitting plus 60% for overs in their respective games, 3.07 goals per game on average. More recently, overs 12 of 17, Torino at home, 10-14, Sampdoria away. And also, quite interestingly, I sort of mentioned the defensive errors. Neither of these teams can be trusted defensively to keep clean sheets, but actually going forward in their 16 combined games, they've scored 2 goals or more between them on 9 times this season. So particularly for Torino, Belotti and Verdi should be back available. Not with this game being on Monday, they've got extra time to recover. So I expect them to play, and I expect Torino and Sampdoria to put on a bit of a show. So overs at 1.75 is quite a nice line for a Serie A game, which is expecting to have plenty of goals.
I may just have missed it there, Mark. Was that 2.5 or 2.75 in the Torino game?
2.5.
2.5. Oh, geez. Well, okay, that's pretty low, isn't it? Yeah, I can see definitely can see the attractiveness there. Yeah, but
7 now actually. So,
yeah, I actually watched that game last weekend, Dortmund and Hertha, and Hertha were wide open. I know Cunha got a couple of goals from, but they were just wide open, and 4 goals even for the legend that is Erling Brute Haaland, and some cracking goals as well.
Well, I flicked over to that game because my friend was commentating on it down Roebuck, and I saw the half-time score, and I was like, oh, this looks like it'll be a decent game.
Yeah.
I flicked away for some reason. I think I was watching something else, and then I just saw everything flash up. Everything changed in that second half. It was remarkable from Haaland, wasn't it?
Then Haaland happened. Like, I think he scored so many goals that Lucien Favre, when he came off, he said, "You got 3, yeah?" And he said, "Yeah, you got 4." So that's in a blink of an eye. That's what Haaland can do to you. Okay, the loving for Erling Haaland is over. Best bets, guys, for the weekend. Mark, kick us off, mate. Where are you going for your top selection this weekend?
Yeah, I just mentioned it there. Leverkusen against Hertha Berlin on Sunday in the Bundesliga, over 2 3/4 goals at 1.8. I'm expecting a great game there, so really looking forward to that one.
Good man. Adrian, Clarke, your best bet?
Yeah, well, I like the a couple of the picks that we came up with earlier on. But I'm going to go with another EFL game, Oxford Swindon. I actually previewed this game before and it got called off, but I think
Oh yeah,
go,
really?
yeah. So I think I'd called overs because both teams, neither team could particularly defend. Strengths definitely lie in attack. But I'm going to lean here towards Oxford. It's Oxford to beat Swindon at home. Swindon cannot defend. They just can't defend. 9 goals in their last 3 away games. Every away game, they've leaked at least 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. It's between 2 and 4 goals every game. And look, they come up against an Oxford team that haven't been brilliant so far this season, but they've had a half decent November. They've beaten Rochdale. They drew with Pompey away last time out. They had another win at Wigan as well. So they're beginning to hit their straps, Oxford. Got some good forwards, experienced forwards, Matty Taylor, James Henry, some good youngsters to come in off the bench. Shodipo and Aggie are players that can enter the fray, especially with a 5 sub rule if things aren't going their way. So yeah, for me, Oxford are a more solid all-round side than Swindon at the moment, who are weighted far more heavily in attack than defence. Big game in the area. They don't like each other, Oxford and Swindon. But yeah, but just purely on the basis that Swindon are so bad at the back, and the keepers. I should have referenced this earlier. They've used 2 keepers in recent games. They've both had stinkers. Both had major errors. And having played in teams where goalkeepers are sometimes struggling, it can just impact the whole team so badly. So I think they're going to be very edgy coming into this game. So Oxford for me, was it 1.97? I think you can get on Oxford.
1.97 currently at Matchbook. Yeah.
Can I just ask? I'll just be interested in Adrian's opinion, because Swindon obviously came up with plenty of optimism after a cracking season, lost a few key players as well. But for me, the change in the dugout, obviously you can't help Richie Wellens leaving, but to then appoint John Sheridan, for me, is a significant downgrade. What's your view?
Yeah, I like Richie Wellens. I thought he had a real strong direction. They had a clear identity. He's a manager on the rise, definitely. Sheridan's a journeyman, isn't he? I mean, he understands football.
Doesn't seem to suit the players or the squad.
No, exactly. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. They've already altered their style. For me, Swindon are really good at pressing and on the transition. But yeah, he's going to probably look to change that a little bit. But yeah, no, I think it's a definite downgrade. But look, they didn't want to lose Richie Wellens today.
Weird appointment.
Yeah, for me, it was a strange appointment. I agree. I suppose there's a Swindon connection there. He played for them. He's done okay down the years, hasn't he, at that level? But yeah, I don't think it's the right pick. And for me, Oxford have underperformed so far this season and are starting to find their feet. So that's where I'm going with that.
All right, sounds good. 1.97, 8 bets in total selected for this weekend's action. I really like these ones. I like them every week, to be fair, but I especially like some of these ones.
I actually like them, he says.
Yeah, I always like them. Adrian, you know what I'm texting you at 6 o'clock on Saturdays, showing you my bet slips from the EFL. You know I like them.
I'm a very jealous man I was at that last text. Well played.
And in all fairness, Mark during the week as well got me a few quid with Bayern Munich and Salzburg. What was that, Mark? Both teams to score. Was it Bayern to win and both teams to score?
Bayern and both teams. Yeah.
Easy game. Yeah. In fairness, Salzburg definitely should have had 2 or 3 in the first half, and that would have got our bet up a lot earlier. But anyway, we digress. We are out of time. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for listening. Well, thanks to Adrian and Mark as ever. Don't forget, we'll be back again next week. Christmas is coming and a very busy schedule ahead for the Matchbook Betting Podcast. But enjoy this weekend, and we will talk to you next Thursday. Care.